The question is, can you really make money from Tkmaxx at Christmas? That's the question I'm asking you, Austin.
I'm asking you, is it necessary to follow two ladies with an almost identical coat, both different types of leopard print?
No, but I think it's super cute and I think they look really happy.
They do indeed.
The question is...
So what was the original question?
Can you make money from Tkmaxx at Christmas time? The question is...
I was going to answer your question, but...
Oh, go on then, answer it.
Shall we let the video do the answering of the question?
I don't know. So I was thinking about this when I was like flicking through it and like semi-editing it. I think it really depends, and the biggest thing it depends on is your business and how you run your business. I think in terms of retail arbitrage, I think in a lot of cases, quantity is a thing that comes into play because the margins are so much smaller.
Yep. For the outlay, you mean? When you say margins, you're talking about obviously the potential of the outlay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I also say that, it only really applies to this time of the year because when we get into yellow sticker season, then there's just an abundance of very cheap things, all with massive margins. Does that make sense?
100%.
So these are some Tommy Hilfiger trousers. This is a sort of insight into knowing your brand. So these are Hilfiger Runway. So they're not the classic Hilfiger you find in Hilfiger stores. They're a runway pair of trousers and they retailed for £450 and they had them there for £23. The problem with Hilfiger Runway is there's not a huge aftermarket demand for it.
No,
because
it's looked at as a casual kind of everyday brand.
So is it worth picking up? Not for us. This is John Richmond. You can see the top price there is like $600. Was it?
$655, yeah.
$655, and it was down to like what, £29, something like that.
Yeah,
£39,
something like that.
Something like that. But it's made for outlet.
I was just going to say, Tkmaxx is ablaze with Richmond at the moment, but most of the Richmond you do get now, because there's so much of it, is clearly outlet pieces. That's off-price pieces. That's pieces which were never in full price.
And then you get pieces like this. So this the top price was $465. It's by a brand called Plan C. Plan C is a European brand, extremely niche brand, and the aftermarket sales or resale value of the piece isn't huge. It's not hugely in demand within the UK database. There is GSP and etc. But then you have to weigh in if you're only buying a few pieces because there's just not an abundance of stock. Is it worth your time?
And I'm also in the impression, once again, we don't do a lot of RAs when it comes to other things, i.e. non-clothes. But to be honest with you, with RA, I find that if I'm buying something, I'm paying up for something. And when I say paying up, I'm talking about, once again, 30, 40, 50 quid when I can buy maybe 10 items from a charity shop or something along those lines. It's got not only give me the kind of windfall I'm looking for, but also in the time period allotted by myself to kind of recoup that money. Which I think, once again, you can pick a load of great high-end pieces up here if you're looking to fill your wardrobe with great high-end pieces cheaply, if you know what you're looking for. On the flip side of that, if you're looking for those pieces to fund, specifics or turn around, be sold very quickly, that is a totally different story. And you can do it, but I'm saying you have to be very, 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 very sharp with what you're buying.
So this is a brand called Alpha. It's a high-end this is a knitwear piece. Top price is $225 and they wanted $40 for it. There's not enough percentage there to warrant buying that if I'm only picking up one or two pieces on this occasion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this is a lovely piece from Moschino. It's a Moschino couture piece. They retail for £500-600, so that's reasonable, once again, if that's for you. And there's still some money to be made, but once again, that's a specific from someone. That's a specific top. That's not a black everyday top. That's not for everyone. The person who loves it will pay that all day long, but you have to make sure you have that customer ready to rock and roll. I do think putting that online, not that I'm not a fan of it at all, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, if you're looking at it from an RA point of view, it's very different.
I think the thing is, if you haven't got an abundance of charity shops near you, or if you're not really into charity shops, which I completely understand, a lot of people aren't there, if you're into boot sales or whatever, and it's not the season, and you want to and you want to top up your stock and you want to have a few pieces flowing through your shop, etc., it's a great way to do it. However, I do think with Tkmaxx, timing is everything.
Agreed.
Those yellow sticker sales is when you're going to pick up the best bargains in the biggest quantity for the biggest return, and that is the best way of doing RA. I think sometimes you might feel like when you go into a Tkmaxx, it might be intimidating, or you might not know what you're doing, or you're just confused in general. Then you might feel overwhelmed and feel the need to pick something up because the top price is 400 and now it's 30, so you must be able to get 100 from it. But there might be a reason for that, or it just might not be worth your time.
Yeah,
time is money.
The other thing I was going to say as well, which people have to bear in mind, right, guys, is because Tkmaxx have a sticker or have a price on there, it doesn't necessarily mean, we've been through this before, but it doesn't necessarily mean it was ever that price, right? Let's not go into that right now. But the other thing I would point out as regards that kind of thing is they have their own, like, kind of, usually on the sleeve or on the cuff, they have their tag, yeah?
Yeah.
Just because you're buying in store doesn't necessarily mean they always have a brand new with tags tag. Yes. So unless you want to send it with a TK tag half cut off because you didn't want to let them know the price, on the basis they're still going to know you got a discount because you bought in Tkmaxx. If there's not everything you see here, for example, will have actual what I call store tags, i.e. if it's from Fari from earlier, does it have a Fari tag? I'm not talking about Tkmaxx, I'm talking about a Fari tag. If you're buying from Folk, does it have Folk? Folk's not a great example because most of the stuff is made for the outlet, so a lot of that Folk stuff has their tags already. That's not downgrading it, but the fact is that's not full price. That's not full price.
We personally remove all Tkmaxx tags.
Yeah, see, for example, the one we're looking at now, for a long period of time, for no apparent reason apart from me talking to Bethany, has its own tag. No matter what brand it is, no matter who it's from, it has its own tag. What I'm saying is a lot of the tags you're seeing in front of you with the white and red labels, just because it has that tag doesn't necessarily mean inside it has the full store tag.
Yes.
Which is when you take this off and you remove that tag, no longer new with tags. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So think about that. And a lot of people, I've had actually messages in the past that people have said, I took it home and I didn't realise it didn't come with tags because I took the Tkmaxx off. Well, it sounds stupid, but it's something a lot of people don't notice. A lot of them are full. You got every tag you could possibly need. Some of them don't have. And what I do find actually is some of the higher end pieces we've bought before, off-white stuff like that, they have like a zillion tags, so you always notice those. But there were other pieces from the same brand which were missing tags, which we didn't pick up because they're missing tags.
100%. Like that piece, then that didn't have its own store brand tag.
Yeah, exactly that. Something not many people mention, actually.
It's interesting as well. Some of the Zara pieces that come up very cheap in the yellow ticket sale, which are well worth picking up in the yellow ticket sale for like £2 or £3, most of them don't have the Zara tags.
100%.
Because of just where Tkmaxx are buying them and what company they're third party buying them from.
Yeah, and I'd also say that's a really good point. I'm just noticing that now with the Richmond, obviously, as I said earlier, it's outlet. And people are going to argue, well, how can they legally put the price? Was this, that, and the other? Go to a Gucci store in an outlet. I promise you there are plenty of pieces which were never made for anything but the outlet, but have a top price of X, and then they have a price which you'll pay, which is cheaper, to make the goods seem discounted. You can argue with me all you want. I promise you, I know for a fact, I've worked in these stores, that this happens in multiple luxury stores and stores all across the world. And Tkmaxx is also one of them.
This is a good example of a niche brand that there was only one piece of. It's by MC Overalls, which is a really cool workwear brand. Another European brand, but it's really, the quality of the piece was outstanding.
That for a jumper was almost like neoprene.
Yeah, and that was well worth picking up because when I looked at comps in store, there weren't very many for them, which is good to me. It means that they aren't flooding the market with Tkmaxx comps. Does that make sense?
It does indeed. This Aquascutum top is a great example. So this was never released. You can't buy this full price. It's new with tags. This wasn't a full price piece. Most of the Aquascutum, most of it in actual fact, I think nearly all of it, has never been available in full price. I'm not saying it hasn't been available on a website or a discount store or this or that or the other, but aquascutum.com has never sold that piece.
Yes, 100%. And that does devalue that brand,
Yeah.
and it devalues that piece on the resale market.
And that's not saying it's bad quality. That's not saying it's less than. What I'm saying is, if you're going in there thinking you're buying a piece which is, come out the store last month or it's last season, there are a few pieces which will be. Majority, when you see a bulk, like for example, every store I've been in Tkmaxx in the last month and a half, I've seen aquascutum all over the place.
Yeah, if you're flipping onto sites such as Amazon or any like retail sites, then it can work.
Oh no, I'm not saying you can't make money from
but
it.
if you're flipping it onto eBay or if you're flipping it onto Depop or whatever, people are very savvy to it.
Oh no, they make money. Yeah, they make money. What you're saying is though, so if you're a collector of aquascutum, you'd be aware that wasn't a full price piece.
100%.
But for most people who are just buying for the sake of buying or buying for a brand, they will still buy.
I left this in because Austin's touching nuts. Honestly, that's the only reason I left that clip in. Enjoy.
Thanks.
No problem. We did venture into homeware. Homeware is a good example of what we've just been saying. The homeware section, they do a lot of Le Creuset. When it comes to water bottles, they have a lot of Swell. They have a lot of Chili.
Which are obviously higher end brands for those pieces.
But they're all made for outlets.
Yeah.
So they were never had a full price. They would never been in a full price store. Candles are very much the same thing. So homeware does get a little bit tricky when it comes to the resale market. We were looking at books, for example. These coffee table books were like a real like in vogue thing. Like everyone wanted the coffee table books. But there's a difference between the Dior and the Prada book that I just put on the shelf and these. This is a actual what I call coffee table book, which had a very high retail price, whereas the other ones were mass produced for outlets and discount stores.
Yeah, for sure. They're basically
Rizzoli is the brand there.
They've never sold those in the store. Now I'm not saying like that. You can buy that right now. Both those Rizzoli, you can buy them in the Tom Ford stores. You can buy them online.
Yes.
And that's not to knock those books. Like we own both those style of books. In actual fact, it doesn't take away from it. But what I'm saying is, don't expect that to have come from a Louis Vuitton store or a Dior store or something like that. It's the same thing.
And the retail of those books are 3 figures, and they were asking £50. So there is margin to resell, especially if you're doing Amazon, especially if you're doing those sorts of things. But very slim, and there's only 2 of them, so you're not playing the quantity game either in that. For that example,
100%.
That was I can't say the word. Neom candle. The reason I didn't get it is it's seasonal. It's Christmas. I could have kept it in stock until next year. Also, not the game I'm playing.
How much would it have been retail? Because it was £15.
I don't know off the top of my head for that candle, but it would have been about 40 to 50. They're very diptyque, in line with diptyque.
Like Joe Malone kind of money, yeah?
They're a higher end candle, and I think they were 15 each.
Fair enough.
But there was 2, so if you wanted to do 2, yeah, okay, fine. But I like playing the quantity game in TK
I've got to say,
let's go wholesale, you know.
Like, and there are. Don't get me wrong. There are a few things like we mentioned before. It's kind of like I don't know. I feel like I'm talking myself out of it. But even times which things aren't made for outlet, for example, like we've said about Chloe before, which have made some great dress and have had a few items of the actual stuff which have been in full price stores shipped to the kind of Tkmaxx and so on. They then get reduced online.
See, these boots, these are All Saints boots, and they were £70 in clearance. I can go to All Saints and shop the sale in January and get better bargains.
That's what I'm saying.
So
but because you think it's cheap because it's there.
Yeah, it's psychological. You have to be very savvy to brands, to
These are lovely
trends. La Perla is an underwear brand.
They're like
loungewear.
Loungewear. They are kind of predominantly that. Mm-hmm. They were like some lovely house slippers. That's why the soles were suede. They're supposed to be for kind of wood floors or carpet.
But I think to pick up everything that's discounted because it's a brand in inverted commas, and I know we're the brand people.
No, I actually think that's the wrong way to be in here.
Yeah, you have to get a bit savvier to it, especially when it's competitive at Christmas time. When you go into, obviously, I know I keep saying it, but the yellow ticket sales in January, there's an abundance of stock of brands, of names, etc., etc., and you can be more, what's the word? Not loose. You can be more
thoughtful on what you're buying.
No, you can be more general. You can pick up. You can pick up more. Does that make sense?
I think as well.
You have to be a bit more selective.
I'm going to say we've done multiple Tkmaxx videos, and this is the only ever one we've done in Taunton. We didn't say where we were actually. We were in Taunton. And I must say, in comparison to, for example, Bath or even Yeovil or Cardiff, this has the less, not just a lesser amount of high-end stuff or gold label. This has an almost zip gold label.
It was in town as well.
It's in town, in Taunton town, yeah. So in comparison, so once again, what I think is quite interesting is, depending on where you live, and put in the comments if you where you live and which ones you go into. I find that this literally, I'm not knocking it. There's some great stuff still, but I'm saying if you want kind of we couldn't do a high-end picking video in this store at all. Which I think is interesting, because obviously they do farm, like Bath, bar none, has the highest amount of high-end goods I've ever seen in Tkmaxx ever.
We'll go to a Bath next and compare, because...
Yeah. Do you not agree, though?
Yeah, it's sort of like... I don't know if it's Christmas, I don't know what it is, but this one wasn't, you know...
I just want to point out that's Mario Valentino. For anyone who thinks that's obviously like kind of full price Valentino, it's a very different thing, totally different brand, and not worth like a quarter of what original kind of Valentino would be worth.
You also notice the Kurt Geiger bags hanging with the eagle head on.
Yep.
We've sold multiple of those used for very, very good money.
Like, we bought them in charity shops for like under 10, maybe under £15, and then sold them for like 110, 120.
But those ones with the Union Jacks on are made for outlets, so there's just, the return isn't there.
And once again, you see, so for example, if you sort of one in like a blue or like a neon purple, a one in the corner, there might be a chance that that's a full price bag gone to outlet. The fact you have 15 black ones,
yeah, look,
I promise you, there you go. I promise you the black ones sell out first in store. So for them to have that many black ones, they're made for that store.
Yes.
Or that, you know, for that kind of retail area of retail for that company.
And I find people that are buying those sorts of things are aware.
This is, honestly, I didn't even know this was coming up next, because that's my exact example. Sorry to interrupt you. But there's a small one-piece, small coach in like a lilac colour, which obviously wouldn't be hugely popular on its own. That is not an outlet piece, that's a proper piece which you would have bought from a full-price store.
Okay. I spotted this randomly because it felt really bad. I'm going to say it felt awful. Acrylic monster it was. And then they put the tag over the brand tag. And it was up for $19.99, but it was Paul Smith.
It was Paul Smith, wasn't it? Yeah.
So this was a seconds.
You can see now that that's Paul Smith. Or once again, it could have been a sample, maybe, because the colour.
A sample, seconds, yeah.
And I think, like I just said,
no tags though.
No tags. So once you take that tag off and the security off, it's no longer new with tags.
It's new without... You could do new without tags, but then you've got to venture into...
Is it really new without tags?
If it's got no issues of, you know, and then as soon as you start cleaning it...
And my problem is, once again, being on that rack, especially some of the scarves, we've all seen it, you know, kind of touching the floor, touching the dust. And you can't wash it because you don't want it will no longer be new. But if you don't... It's dirty, so I don't know. It's a whole minefield. I'm not trying to be negative with this video, but what do you think?
No, I think
summarise,
I think I wanted to do a video on it, and we went to this Tkmaxx. I wanted to do a video on it to show you that, just like charity shops, every Tkmaxx differs.
Yeah.
I also wanted to show you
because sorry to interrupt you, but we've got some banging videos in Tkmaxx. Go and check our previous videos.
Yes.
And the money we've made.
Maybe we'll talk about it again in a upcoming podcast. But I hope you enjoyed. If you got any comments, leave them down below, and we'll be happy to chat away to you.
Bye.